Hello, my name is Marcy Curth. I am examining the National School Lunch Program and its impact on assisting students from poverty to overcome academic barriers and its possibilities for an online school. And one of the things I discovered was that many very famous folks have gone from a venue, for example, as a chef, as Jeff Mills in my front page here was a chef for restaurants and so on, who transitioned to this National School Lunch Program, actually out of Washington, D.C., serves as Director of Food and Nutrition there. And he said he was always surrounded by good, wholesome foods, and that sort of became a value of mine. And I started with that because I feel that that's really where this journey has taken me, in terms of why I chose the National School Lunch Program, because along with being educated as a teacher, I'm also educated as a person nutritionist. So I was interested in this particular field because I've studied it and certainly have worked on helping develop alternate ideas for students for school lunch. And you will notice, I believe, that my education will show it in terms of not only have I discovered that through this research, but also my personal life experience, that while it is, I believe, a great idea to offer students an alternate lunch idea, it also, though, is a situation where students simply often don't want to comply with what we consider as grown-ups that's good choices for them to eat. And so I do investigate that a little bit as well in this study that I made for this class. I'm also inserting the song "Food, Glorious Food" because it kind of exemplifies what I've found through research and also through personal experience with students. Statistically, the United States has served about 41 million subsidized lunches as well as breakfast and snacks to our nation's eligible children. The United States is divided into 7 regions, which determines costs and reimbursements to school. And the cost per lunch is about $2.91 per lunch, while a typical breakfast is $2.50. The cost for providing does vary per region slightly, especially in Alaska and Hawaii. Some history in the National School Lunch. It began in earnest during the Great Depression. Hunger and malnutrition were serious and growing problems, and some state and local governments have begun using state and local tax dollars to provide in-school lunch for students. The federal government became involved by way of agriculture. During the Depression, American farmers had drastically increased their production in order to compensate for falling prices of goods. This overproduction pushed prices down even faster. President Franklin Roosevelt therefore developed a plan for the U.S. government to in effect set prices and make use of surplus farm products by purchasing them and distributing them to the needy. This program was eventually taken over by the USDA, which began transferring the extra food to schools. And so the U.S. government regulations governed the receipt of surplus commodities and focused on making sure that the foods donated to schools would not re-enter the market or displace other food sales. Schools could receive U.S. foodstuffs then, but only if they agreed to keep and use all the commodities they got. And what really happens today is that folks do receive funding for the lunches. Back when I was a kid in the 70s, when I was in high school, I actually remember the Type A lunch, as it was known, and it was a certain pattern of things that we were given at that time. And the Type A lunch does still continue to influence the government standards for that. And to be truthful, though, the constant debate, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, is what exactly will children eat. But the problem we have with history is that it has not changed. The USDA currently reimburses schools about $2.72 for free lunch they provide for students. And in truth, the actual cost, of course, is greater than that. So it's constantly a battle of just trying to figure out what we should do for these children. Another question to consider today is this affecting student achievement, the feeding of students who are in need, of course, and they qualify by looking at the family income and other things as far as how many students are in the family, and all those things influence the judgment. But basically there is a certain qualification for students to receive either reduced and or free lunch. And one of the things that I had a lot of joy in doing this summer was to talk to Candace Manley, who is previously coordinator for school lunch in Title I in Maryland, and she now actually serves once again as his classroom teacher, but she had a real joy spending some time speaking with her and have worked with her throughout this program on different things, referencing what they're doing there in Maryland compared to what we're doing in Pennsylvania. But one of the things that she commented was they had a 56% participation rate on that. There was that many children who were in need in her school. They were qualified for the student lunch program, and they did of course have done some looking at PSSA scores and so on. And students who attend the school regularly and participate in the school lunch program showed a 33% improvement since the previous school year when they were not involved in the school lunch program. So we're not giving school lunch or feeding the entire credit here for that 33% improvement, but according to CC, it really made a tremendous difference in terms of the children just simply not being hungry and then able to focus in school. So it certainly has turned focus around for all of these children, and there were about 300 children at her school. The mission of the school lunch program is to safeguard the health and well-being of the nation, and also to encourage the consumption of nutritious agricultural commodities. A look at history today, as we continue through this broadcast, is that today, Healthy Hunger Free Kids Act of 2010 allows for some raising, a very slight amount, about 6 cents per child, raising the reimbursement for the schools involved, and also they would like to see an improvement in the taste and nutritional quality of the food served. As I investigated this, one of the problems that became apparent to me was that, when you have a body that does two different things, you have problems. And the USDA actually oversees the balancing of agricultural markets, but also provides healthful food to American children. These two roles are contradictory and should be administered by another agency. However, that simply is not true, and until this happens, the major reforms that are seen as useful probably will not occur. I hope for a change, perhaps, even though the SDA is there, and major powerful parties are involved in school food program. For example, Tyson and Monsanto are both two powerful parties that have a real clear reason to lobby lawmakers on Capitol Hill to keep the school food program from changing in any meaningful way. But one of the things that has been tried rather recently in Baltimore, Maryland, which isn't too far from where I live, actually about an hour away, is that they've actually hired a person who, this gentleman I quoted in the beginning, Mills, who is working at having students actually involved in a healthy, they're trying to do some different ways to fund this. So they're putting it out there, and one of the things in Baltimore school lunch program is an executive chef, Andre Alonso, is actually created food for students, and so they've actually bought into that. And one of the coolest things about that is that they actually have some really healthy menus they're looking at there. Two different pilot programs that I researched was one's out of DC and one's out of Maryland, and what they are two different places. Revolution Foods is one, and Central Kitchen, and they actually provide made from scratch meals. The Revolution Food is actually prepackaged meals, and the Central Kitchen is made from scratch meals. And so they kind of have divided their entire county in half, 7 and 7, using the two different venues. And the pilots are really designed to create a more competitive environment for school food, and also to help assess what works best in terms of food quality and different methods of cooking. This is from Mills once again. And I thought was kind of fun was I'm going to share with you my opinion of kind of what this the day that this particular author that wrote this review that from Stanford University was on the menu when he visited the children was baked catfish, brown rice, peas and carrots were mixed in there, by the way, pico de gallo, vegetarian burrito, and I thought the cutest thing, and I just had to type it out, when many of the students were interviewed by this reporter, what their comment was how the food was. He asked them, and they said, "It's nasty." So I just thought that was adorable, because that is, I found myself with working with kids over the years, and certainly try to have them eat more healthy. In fact, I'm hosting in November at our school, we have about 100 families coming in. I'm going to do a little nutrition ideas on what to do with Thanksgiving, post-Thanksgiving food, and how to control your weight and all that kind of things, or actually just eat more healthy. But at the end of the day, this is the kind of thing I would run in with kids. Even you really try sometimes some real healthful food, they're not always a real big fan of it. So I thought that was pretty delightful. And so the way I'd like to close this is to say that through my investigation, I do feel that we are trying to make some inroads into school lunch change, although I believe it will continue to be slow until we can get some, because this is a government function. Of course, I don't have a lot of hope for it being quick, but I do believe that there are some ideas on the plate here for using pilot programs. And I do think, though, that the person that we're going to have to work on some are the children, because that's at the end of the day, if they're not going to eat this food like baked catfish, then we're going to have to figure something else out for them. I'd like to close. The debate continues: happy children with foods they like, or healthy choices with foods they will learn to love. Perhaps she will come around. And I just thought this picture was adorable. This little girl really putting her nose, or closing her nose to the smell of the fish that was presented to her for her meal. And I'm going to close my remarks and my presentation today with food glories for food from Oliver, and also my resources, my references are listed here on this page. And really it was a joy for me to research this more, to kind of update myself, because I actually finished my nutrition certification back in I guess it was 1987. So it's been many years since I've been in school for nutrition, and it was really kind of cool to read the latest things on for me, actually quite fun to study what was going on with the school lunch program. So I hope that you enjoyed the presentation, and it gave you some new insights into this debate on national school lunch, and particularly for helping children. I believe that to overcome academic barriers, it will take a special amount of work just to have them enjoy the food and eat it. And also possibilities for online school, I believe, is that it's not applicable at this time because we do not have FaceTime with the students, and many of our parents would be eligible, though, because they certainly are eligible for food stamps. And one of the things I'm going to do post this is looking to see if our new program will qualify for the program. We do have kids that attend up to 5 days a week to a on-site program, and I would also be interested in seeing if perhaps we could have some boxed lunches if possible. And so that's something I'm going to do post this, is look into our own off-site location, and where we do have kids come in, and we have a little blended school going on here at PA Cyber, and I am grateful that I had the opportunity to study this, and that's one of my plans immediately, to see if we can find some accommodations for these students. And I do believe that the information I've gathered will help me possibly looking for the reduced school lunch for our offset location. Also, I know that these students often come unprepared without lunch, and we have staff that have stepped up to make sure that no child is ever hungry. But it is my own personal interest in the future for myself to study more about hunger and help to remedy the great hunger problem we have in the United States. Thank you. This is Marcy Curth, and this is for EDU 541, Dr. Kokiko, and also for the Franciscan University.